Good morning and welcome to Klingspor's Woodworking Shop 21st Annual Woodworking Extravaganza. I'm Mike Z.
I'm Chris, and man, we made it to Friday. Wow.
Is it Friday already?
At least that's what I was told.
Oh, good. Okay, check the calendar. And joined with us is Troy from Arbortech. Troy, thank you very much for coming in and helping answer any questions people might have about power carving accessories.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
And there's a big sale going on with Arbortech, 10% off till the end of the month. So on select items, not on the entire line, but make sure you check that out at woodworkingshop.com. Save 10% on Arbortech.
A lot of great new tools on the horizon, man. Can't wait to see some of those get in the store.
Do you have new tools that you can talk about that haven't been mentioned yet?
Oh, we do have one tool.
Well, let's jump right into it.
Hey, I'll take
The
it.
precision carving system. Has anybody seen this?
Nice.
Oh, yeah, the small ball
The
gouge,
small one. So let's compare it here. Here's the regular ball gouge here. Precision carving system. So we have a much smaller cutting area, which allows you to get into some greater detail, a lot tighter areas. I've actually used it. I've used it extensively since it came out for a lot of different things, lettering and getting a hand chiseled look on different types of projects, bowls and some other carvings I've done.
Nice.
It also comes with a little drum sander. So there's a universal base that goes on the grinder, and then this just threads right into it, as well as a barrel cutter, which same concept, threads right into the universal base. It's got a little cutter on there.
So it'll cut on the flat as well?
It will, yeah. It will cut on the flat, and it will also cut on the edge. It cuts a little better this way, but depending on what type of cut you're trying to do, you may use it on the edge.
Okay.
What? How easy is that to control when you're trying to?
It's actually super easy. So the angle, it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but the angle of the cutter allows it to, it's not so grabby, if that's a word. It doesn't want to necessarily pull you into the project as it kind of looks like it would. It will only take off so much, and then it kind of kicks itself out.
Precision carving.
Nice.
Yeah, that's been a great addition to the lineup. Always trying to come up with different shapes, sizes, try to solve the next part of the project that you can't do with Arbortech tools at the moment.
Well, let me ask you this, because with the precision system there, it kind of looks like you're taking out the use of a carbide tool. Like some other companies like Kutzall, they have carbide tools or carbide burrs, sorry. And it kind of looks like it's taking the position of that because you just have the round cutter or you have the mortising type attachment there, and then you have the drum sanding. So it kind of offers a different precision, smaller scale, but with the angle grinder still in play.
Sure. Yep. And it's a little more aggressive than those carbide cutters probably are. So depending on, if you're not trying to, you may just want to scrape off a little bit and use a carbide cutter, but you can do that with a precision carving system, or you can really kind of lay on it, as I say, and put your weight into it and really take a scoop out.
Cool. So, oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say those typically leave a much cleaner cut due to the fact that it's a sheer cut instead of just a bunch of little burrs sticking out.
Little points gouging, right? Yeah, a lot less dust and a lot less sanding when you're done, I've found.
Very cool. We may have to get Paul back to do another video on those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was trying to think of who we're going to have for our resident power carver now that Paul has semi-retired.
Oh, good for him.
Oh yeah, no, he's so he took the ball gouge. We had it a couple of years ago, and he made this figurine and a solid walnut that was a lady holding a baby up in the air.
I saw that.
And so he used the precision ball or not the precision, but he used the ball gouge to actually hollow out the arms. So the arms were freestanding, and we got to sit and actually watch him go through that process live at a show because he had gotten all the way up to that point, and then he carved right through it, and it was cool.
That is cool.
And it was such precision on that. He enjoyed using that because he's been a traditional wood carver for years. So all the traditional tools, and see him integrate the power carving was really interesting.
That's good to hear too, because even me, I've been power carving for almost 6 years now, but I would be nervous to make that cut that you're saying he made. So that speaks to the tools too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So the woodworkingshop.com put in AK34057. Yeah. For the precision carving system, it is included in the 10% off till the end of the month. So what was regularly $129 for the 3 tools as well as the base is actually going to be $116.10 with the discount. So that's fantastic. I think that's a good deal.
Great deal.
Excuse me while I visit woodworkingshop.com and get mine put in the cart for later.
There you go.
Right, there we go.
Yep. So that deal is going to be good till the end of October. So if you don't get it right now, that's not a big deal, but make sure you get it before November 1st because that will go away.
Well, you just said it was a big deal.
It is a big deal, but it's
just not a big deal if
of a
you don't
deal.
order it now. I get you. Okay.
Oh yeah. And then so 1-800-228-0000 if you'd like to call us to order it or shop us 24/7 at woodworkingshop.com. There we go. Let's see. All right. So how long have you been power carving now, Troy?
As long as I've been with Arbortech, so almost 6 years.
Okay.
But I hadn't touched a power carving tool before that. Didn't even know what it was, to be honest.
No, that's a good thing. So the question then comes into play, like, did you just get hired at Arbortech and then become a power carver?
Yes. So I'm, I don't know if anybody wakes up and dreams of being a salesman, but that is what I became. So I had made some relationships through working for some other power tool companies, most recently before Arbortech was Makita. And then the Arbortech opportunity popped up and I hadn't even heard of the company. But my boss is somebody that I believe in, and he did a good job selling it to me. And I did some research beforehand and it looked like the right opportunity. So I took it. And my first day, Kevin was over here from Australia, our CEO, showing me how to use the power chisel and the contour sander and everything. And I mean, I had barely run an angle grinder, even though I sold power tools. I had barely even run a grinder before that. So it was one of those things where I went from just being a salesperson to, well, this is different. I need to know how to use these tools and actually be able to produce things, or I can't really sell them, and just started learning then.
So have you actually taken on the passion for wood carving now at this point? Like, is it something you enjoy?
Absolutely. I can honestly say that in my free time, I power carve. Not all my free time. I have a lot of other hobbies and interests, but I do, I'll go out on a Saturday and start a project, finish a project, things like that. I always kind of have a couple, nothing, I don't do anything that I'd necessarily brag about, but I always kind of have a couple projects going on that I'm picking away at when I have a chance.
Nice. Yeah, I never got into the power carving situation, but I have to say with a chainsaw, when you use it long enough, you start to kind of play around, if you will, and start to kind of make little designs and shapes. So my stumps look great. That's about as far as I got.
You should see his firewood.
Oh, I bet. The fanciest firewood around.
Oh, it is. When it's in the fire, it's like, oh, that was fun. But yeah, I haven't gotten into that yet. Like, I know I got to use the ball gouge, and I really enjoyed the fact that if you try to lay it straight down in a 90, it just doesn't cut.
Right.
So then you get to tilt it on the angle grinder and you get to cut. So therefore you kind of have a lot of control. Even though I don't power carve, I still use the tools. I still play, find out what's going on with them, get an idea of what it is that we're selling. And I have to say that was fun. It was something I was like, I could get into this.
That's kind of the great thing about power carving, in my opinion, is that's the way I learned. I took a chunk of firewood and just started hacking away at it. And, the worst thing that happens is it's just firewood when you're done, or dust. But the best thing that happens is you end up making a bowl or something from it, and you go, oh, okay, I get it now. I see what I can do with these tools. But you don't even have to go that far with it. Just grab a scrap piece of wood, take the tools, and just start playing with them. And before you know it, you start realizing uses you have for them, different things you can do that you just never had thought of before.
Oh, there we go. All right, so let's take a look. You had provided us with great videos of all the tools themselves as far as what's offered right now.
Sure.
And the majority of what's in this video is going to be part of the 10% off sale. So if you see something and you have a question on what was the part number for that or anything else for woodworkingshop.com, make sure you leave us a comment. If you have any questions for Troy as far as how to use the Arbortech system in any way, go ahead and leave that comment as well. He can see them so he can answer them directly and get your questions answered. So we'll take a look at this video.
Enjoy the music.
Yes, enjoy the music. It's good music. It's just when you're watching it over and over, boy, it gets stuck in your head, doesn't it? All right, boys. Night at the Roxbury. Let's go. All righty. Thank you for watching that fantastic video. Now, I do have a couple of questions that I saw from the video and see what you think. But if you have any questions for Troy, make sure that you go ahead and leave them in the comments and we'll address them right away.
What's the name of that song so I can add it to my playlist?
That's the Arbortech jingle.
Okay.
That's a jam, all right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So random orbit sander. Okay. How does that work exactly? Because you have a shaft, on an angle grinder that's spinning 12,000, 10,000,
13,000.
So there's a bearing in there. You see that it spins independently.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if you can tell, there's a little wobble to it.
Yeah.
So we do occasionally get calls on this where people are saying, hey, it's not working, it's not spinning, but that's actually okay. Because what's happening is this is still spinning, but this part here is just, if you put a lot of force on it, it's still vibrating on that little wobble, but it's not fully rotating. So
okay.
Neat little workaround. Pretty simple, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Now, with that center nut that you have to attach the discs, is it depressed so it doesn't? Because I noticed in the video some are flat and some are on the edge.
Yeah, so it's a silicone disc, so you can actually see I need a new flange. But even with that, when you tighten it down, it's sort of, I don't know if you can see, it sort of depresses down in. Okay. So it doesn't get in the way of the sanding at all. I was honestly skeptical of it the first time I ever saw it too, but I use it for finish sanding on all my projects and don't have any issues with it.
Okay.
I may have to check that out. I do a lot of CNC work, and sometimes there's a need for some type of sanding like that some either our mops or hand sanding would be a little too much of a pain. That looks like that could work pretty well, especially for doing dishes and things.
Yep, and it's got that flex on it, which is nice. This is the tool that I always say, no matter what you do for woodworking, even if you're anti-power carving, you could still use, everybody that woodworks could still use this tool. Mm-hmm. Just because of it almost makes sanding fun, which, pretty hard to do.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
Sanding's always fun. No, that's I've always looked at it, and that's one of the ones that I never took out of the package to try out or bought. And so therefore it was like, how exactly does that work? Because in the video, there's a couple of places where you can see that it stops rotating.
Right.
It's still oscillating. So there's still action there.
Yep.
So just like normal sanding, it doesn't require a lot of pressure. Minimal pressure, you get the most effective use of the tool.
Correct. I find that when I'm laying on it, I usually end up doing more harm than good. But it sort of becomes kind of an instinctual thing at times. You kind of have to step back and, like you said, let the tool do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Turboplane. Okay, so the first time I've ever was introduced to Arbortech Turboplane was at AAW, so a turning symposium out of all things.
Okay.
But what they were doing is that they were doing both turning and power carving on this particular piece that we had in our booth at the woodworking shop booth. So with the Turboplane we had, and not saying that she's older, but she was a 70-year-old lady. She was very proud of the fact that she had an angle grinder and she had a Turboplane, and she was going to town on this. Like, it was just a really big log that anyone could try out the tools.
Right.
I had never seen precision and control and someone have so much fun with something that she's like, I've never picked up an angle grinder, but now I want to buy one.
Right.
And she had a great time. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, that's actually it looks like it wouldn't be very controlled.
Right.
It's you have cutting edge on almost everything about that. So for someone who doesn't know about the Turboplane, how easy is it to control? What's your big points on that?
I don't know if you can see this here, but it's kind of, I'll more explain it. You won't really be able to tell, but there's only 3 teeth on there. Mm-hmm. Mine's got some, that green is bottom paint actually from a boat from doing some bottom work recently. Just ignore that. So 3 teeth, and they're set precisely. So it's kind of hard to see see if you can see from the side here. If I can get it at the right angle. It's precision how it's put on there at 90 degrees, so that when you're cutting with this, there's no edge cutting. It's only cutting on the face. So therefore it looks really aggressive, but it's actually not at all, because it won't cut out here. You can run it right on that edge. You can push up against guides and things. So that allows you to have a lot of control. And then the precision angling and the good grade carbide on these tools, you know, it allows you to just very lightly take a little bit off at a time, or, you know, you can push down on it and take a lot out. And again, it's sort of letting the tool do the work.
Well, I like that the teeth are they're just barely exposed.
Barely, yeah.
That does prevent a lot of the kickback and catching that
Correct.
occurs with other traditional carbide teeth. Because I used to use a carbide tooth blade to cut door jambs when I did a lot of flooring work, and yeah, you have to be real careful with that. But on that definitely takes safety into consideration, and looks like that would be a much more versatile product for doing that without the fear of catching and running.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole design of that, all of our attachments, but especially the turbo plane, safety is sort of the number one point in how we were going to launch that, and make sure that, you know, you'll see some other attachments floating around that have crazy looking teeth on them that stick way off. And I've tried a few of them, and they're very aggressive, but the control isn't there.
Yeah.
And that's the piece with the turbo plane that I really like, is it can be aggressive if you want it to be, but super controlled all the time. And that's what it makes it easy for me. And if it's easy for me, anybody can do it.
Okay, I've heard that before, but no, I've actually seen it in action, so I can tell you that it is a very safe tool compared to others that are on the market doing a similar function.
Right.
And cleaner too, as far as the cut goes. It's a very clean cut, smooth.
Yep, chips, not dust. So in terms of the mess you're making, there will be a lot of chips, but minimal dust, which is, you know,
that's key.
Yeah, we like that.
At least until you sand.
Yeah. Although that's what we have the power carving unit for.
That's true. Now, with the power carving unit, that led me to a question. It's a 100 millimeter pad, which is like 3.93 inches. So is it a 4-inch disc? Okay, so 4-inch disc would work on there.
Yep. We provide 4-inch discs, any 4-inch disc.
That's hook and loop.
It's hook and loop, yep. So any 4-inch disc will work on there.
Right now, Klingspor's Woodworking Shop is offering 15% off abrasive discs.
Phenomenal abrasives. Phenomenal.
You saw where I was going with that. We've done this all week. You're starting to figure out how that works. But no, that was a question, because I saw sometimes when you have that shroud on there, you can't put an oversized disc. It has to be 100 millimeters. So that was really the question behind it all, was that, can you use a 4-inch disc? And if so, then we have them. So that's good. And I like how it's hook and loop. That was smart to put, you know, the Klingon backing on there for the disc quick change. You don't have to do any more tool changing. That's
much easier. We'd have hook and loop on all of our sanding attachments if we could, but the smaller ones, it seems the paper still seems to fly off. You still seem to need a flange on there. We haven't quite figured that out yet.
It's all about the hooks. The hooks will heat up very quickly.
Sure.
How much does a power carving chisel weigh? Not too bulky. For you.
Are we talking? So the power carving unit, I'm guessing, is what we're referencing there.
Yeah, the one with the 7 chisels.
Or the chisel. So the chisel, it's an angle grinder essentially. So like 5-6 pounds, right around that. Not anymore.
Weighs just enough to make it right for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, if you can hold an angle grinder, you can hold that, no problem.
And at the same time, you're using the weight of that angle grinder to help cut, though, too. You don't have to really push into it. I noticed about using that.
Yeah, and so with the power chisel, when you turn it on, the motor's running, but it's sort of, you know, we call it idling. It's not chiseling. It's not a tool that when you turn it on, it just starts chiseling. You have to actually engage it, and then it will start to chisel. There's a little cam action in there. So it allows you to be precise, and you still don't need, minimal force is all it takes to really get it going.
Okay.
And a lot of times, the weight of the tool is more than sufficient to engage that reciprocating action.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's see here. So on the turbo shaft, you have that ring for depth control, and is that one of the only ones that you can cut on the side? That's why the
Yeah,
ring's
so
there?
it has slight edge cutting. I say it cuts about on the bottom eighth of an inch. It cuts on the edge at the bottom of the bottom eighth inch of the shaft, if that makes sense. So this little section at the bottom here is where you have some edge cutting. So essentially, you can cut at an angle, but you can't, at a full angle, it's not really going to cut, even without the ring on there. Most of the cutting is on the face. Good way to learn to use the turbo shaft is to kind of put it at an angle and start cutting with it, and then kind of just walk up to vertical and cut on the face, and then you get an idea of where it cuts. So a little bit of edge cutting here, and then, the turbo plane, no edge cutting, mini turbo, no edge cutting. So turbo plane, mini turbo, turbo shaft are kind of going bigger to smaller. This would be the only one out of the three that has slight edge cutting, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I just noticed it in the video that it looked like you could cut slightly on the edge. You couldn't go straight down in something deep and then cut on the edge. Because obviously it's only at the very end, but I did notice that. So as we talk more and more about CNC in woodworking, I'm always looking at what else can you attach to it. Has there been any thoughts or discussions on taking something like the random orbit attachment or the turbo shaft, anything like that, where you could attach it to a CNC?
I've seen the turbo shaft on a CNC. Okay. Man, I wish I would remember. It was a school in Connecticut. I have it in my notes where I was, but we were just in the shop. I had met the shop teacher and went and showed the tools to the shop, and he really likes CNC, so he had been working on fitting some other attachments on the CNC that he couldn't get on there, and he had something that this just threaded right on. And he had it, I don't remember what he had it dialed down to, but he had it dialed down way slower than a grinder. And it was cutting. And I should reach out to him. I haven't talked to him in a while and see what else he's done with it. But I think it just comes down to, I don't know enough about CNC terminology, but a collet or whatever you need to connect, as long as you have something that is like a 5/8 11 thread, like a common grinder thread, it should thread right on.
Okay. That'll be interesting to look into, just because I see its possibilities. Now, of course, there's cutting bits out there, but maybe you can, have that same look and the same cut from a CNC to, like, to plane something down, if you will.
Sure.
And then switch over and put it in an angle grinder and do the rest of it, so it's very consistent.
Yep.
And then again, I mean, Chris knows way more about CNCs than I do, but at the same time, it might be too much effort and work and just faster on the angle grinder.
Yeah, I can see where some parts you would be better just to use the straight up Arbortech tools on a grinder, especially for undercut applications, because that's one of the things that CNC can't do is undercut.
Right.
So having something, being able to potentially adapt something like that to a CNC, as long as it would, being able to do the undercut applications. We're doing it by hand on an angle grinder, it allows you to physically manipulate that angle exactly the way you need it to be able to achieve that. Whereas a CNC, you can't do that. You're going to be stuck with that straight up and down application.
Okay.
There's no tilting. Sense. All right. That was all my questions that I had from watching the video.
Good questions.
Yeah. I just, as a woodworker, we're watching this as well as those at home watching this. And sometimes I have those questions only from the video where it's like, wait a minute, I noticed something in that, and then I get to address it directly. That makes it so much easier. And if you'd like to ask questions of Troy, make sure that you put them in the comments below. And if it's after hours, as far as you're watching this on the replay, we'll be able to answer that too, because we can just send it to him. Or you said you were going to log in and check on the YouTube.
Yeah, I should do that. I haven't.
Well, you don't have to do it right now. I'm just saying, as far as in the future.
I'll check it after.
Okay.
Yeah.
That way, if there's a technical question that you need answered. What I really like, and I want to thank you for doing this, is that you're showing your tools. You're not showing these brand new, clean, never used, like, the paint on the bottom of it. Don't worry about it. I mean, you
Right.
actually use this stuff.
And so this turbo plane is 5.5 years old. I got it my first day with Arbortech, and I've never replaced it. Sure, I have a few other ones, but this is the one that I demo. This is the one I show everybody. This is the one I use on all my projects. And this isn't necessarily a great like bragging point or anything, but you could see somebody actually, I won't say who, hit metal with this turbo plane and took a little shaving out of the face. And had they chipped a tooth, that would have been the end of the turbo plane. But it didn't chip any teeth, and that was years ago now. And I still use the same disc, and like I said, bowls, signs. I just made some bookends. I've done all kinds of different stuff with this exact turbo plane.
That's awesome.
And every now and then I get somebody that, gives me a hard time and says, I know you're proud of your old tools, but maybe if you had a new one or you sharpened it, it would cut better. Okay. And that is true. But I think it's a testament to, I call these lifetime attachments. If you don't, the turbo plane, if you never chip one of those carbide teeth, I'm not sure you can use it enough to actually have to replace it. Maybe you can cut some things you shouldn't with it. That will do that. But I'm cutting some of the hardest wood out there consistently with it. And, I've just I've run a credit card file over the face of the teeth. Really easy to do. A couple times in the time that I've had it. That I could maybe do more often, but it cuts just fine, and it's just a quick pass. It's super, super easy to do.
Yeah, that's definitely a testament to longevity, considering that you've had it for 5 years, use it, and obviously doing more than just woodworking with it.
Sure, yeah. And then, all the other attachments have rotatable and replaceable cutters on them. So again, this industrial carver, 5.5 years old, you can see it's been beat on, and I've rotated these teeth, but I've not replaced them. But every other the turbo plane is the only one that if you mess up a tooth, you got to replace the whole attachment. Everything else, you can just buy the cutters. So, they really, truly are lifetime attachments, because you'll have to really, find a way to bend that metal or do something like that to need to replace the whole unit.
Gotcha.
Arbortech's been around a long time, and they build good quality tools. That's that's something you can appreciate. I mean, they're not building it for, the weekend, 1 weekend a month or 1 weekend a year kind of person. I mean, they're building it for, your lifetime.
Absolutely. We want them to hold up, and you get what you pay for. You buy a good quality product, it lasts, and if you have an issue, they're rare, but we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
No, that's good too. Man, I don't know. So it's good to see someone standing behind the product, not just selling it to people, like you're using it. I don't know. It's great to see that it's not just some brand new thing that you got sitting there. You just took it out of the box. You want to show it off for the first time. Company wise, yes. I mean, it looks a lot better, but when you can actually show that you're using it and it's yours.
Yep.
Yeah. So I thank you for that. The authenticity of that just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, Mike and I are both woodworkers, so we appreciate it when we talk to people who are selling a tool like you, who are actually using the tool. That makes a world of difference, because you get that respect, and you get the truth factor there, knowing, hey, I'm using this thing, and I'm not just using it when I try to sell it. I'm actually using it on my own when I'm doing my own carving. So that makes a difference.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to just, my, who I am at my core, a salesperson. And, anybody can sell a drill, anybody can sell an impact driver. But once I started working for Arbortech, it was very obvious from day one that if I don't know how to use these tools, there's no way I can truly sell them. And then through using them, I started finding out, man, I'm not easy on my tools, and they hold up. So it just became super easy and just sort of organic. I really do believe in the products. I really do use them. And they really do hold up. I have them all here for every attachment I have is from either the day I started or the day it came out since I've started, and still going. So
yeah, you can
nice.
tell by that turbo shaft you've used that as well.
Oh, that thing is, it's been through the ringer.
Because I think it originally comes black, right? And it's all steel now.
Yeah. Black, and it has labels on it. It's much better looking than this.
So the 100 millimeter sanding pad is the one that's Velcro. The other one on the random orbit is actually is it sticky?
So we used to do the sticky paper. We do the cloth back now, and you just use the flange and the screw that comes with it to hold it on. But yeah, that's correct. So the power carving unit is hook and loop, and then the smaller ones like the contour sander and the mini turbo, and the pad for the mini carver, those are just cloth back.
Okay.
And those are a good, fairly flexible cloth too. They're not just stiff cloth.
Correct. And the sticky back was good in theory, but once the disc gets dirty, you end up still having to sort of poke a hole and use the flange anyway. So we sort of decided, let's just stick to the cloth back, which or avoid the sticky and go with the cloth back.
No, it's good to get away from the sticky in general because you can reuse at least
It's
the cloth
easier.
back. Yeah.
You don't have that goo and the dust, and it's not nearly as messy. And for me, I don't have a huge issue with pulling a screw and a flange out and putting a new piece of paper on there. So I think it's a really good system.
Well, and the other thing is too, being abrasive people that Chris and I are, as far as, technicians on this, is that when you have a sticky back and you're applying it to an area where you're going to have a high speed and heat, then that sticky actually starts to lose its sticky. It's pressure sensitive adhesive. So when you start to lose that, then you start having this mess everywhere. You get glue everywhere. When I first saw it, I thought, well, this is a very interesting choice for a power carving accessory. And then when it's the upgraded model has the flange, I thought, okay, so they've either ran into this is a better option or something else.
Yeah. The sticky back paper will go flying quite quickly once you start. After a few minutes of use and you've swapped a few discs out, it becomes a projectile.
I'm going to request that we do a test on our gold material as a disc for doing the contours. I bet that would be fantastic.
It's 2 inches, right? The disc size is 2 inches.
Oh, on the contour sander? Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were asking Chris.
No. So, and then so we just got to find a 2 inch or either punch it or, something.
That's what I was going to do. I was going to steal a 2 inch hook and loop disc, even though the hook and loop won't work, just to test it.
Yep.
And then see how we go from there. Cause I think for that application, that multi-bond lubricant would hold up very well up against the heat, which would reduce the loading that would happen in the disc. And since it's already known for being a product great for doing contours anyway, I don't know. I'm going to test that. I think that's we might be onto something here.
It's a good idea.
And then we'll send you some and let you give it your test and thumbs up approval. And
you brought up a good point there too. Just poking a hole in any paper, if you're in a jam or you decide you don't, we provide good paper that you can buy from us. But if you like making your own paper or you like somebody else's paper, you can just poke a hole and just push the screw and the flange right through it and use hook and loop, as you're saying, or you can use sticky back if you want. You can essentially use whatever paper you want.
This is going to be fun for testing then.
Now we just got to convince our boss to let us adjust one of those sanding heads out, an angle grinder. Oh yeah, we're just going to have to create a punch list. This is going to have to happen.
Well, wait, the power carving unit itself, that the Arbortech unit, that's all in one, right? Every attachment fits with that?
Right. So it comes with the sanding head and some sandpaper and the leveling guide and the chip catcher. But all the other attachments that we make will fit right onto that power carving unit. It's a standard 5/8 11 Arbor. So Essentially a good angle grinder set up specifically for woodworking, variable speed. You've got the dust control and the ability to kind of control cutting flat with it or sanding flat with it.
Challenge accepted. I've got some thick cookies, oak cookies that I've been wanting to do something with on the CNC, but I've been holding off. I see content, Mike.
Yep. I was just thinking that instead of worrying about, the smaller parts, why don't we go ahead and get one of those entire Arbortech units? Then everything works with it. We've got dust extraction.
Yep.
It's the full setup there right off the bat. Well, that's what we'll do. So, Troy, you just sold us on one, so we appreciate that. See, that's a good salesperson right there. Is when you just talk about the product itself.
Look for future live events from Klingspor's Woodworking Shop, where we demonstrate the Arbortech tool lineup from beginners, from beginning to end.
That's right.
Go. And if you want to save 10%, don't forget Arbortech is on sale until the end of the month. 10% off on select items, including that precision set that we saw. That's next on my list now.
So Coleman, if you're watching this, which I hope you are, go ahead and set one of those aside for us. Mike and I are going to be using that in future live events to demonstrate how versatile and amazing that is. I will even provide the wood cookie.
Tell you what, and if you'd like to see what, if you have ideas for us to test out or something you want to see us do from a beginner standpoint, by all means, leave us a comment and we will incorporate that, because, we've kind of tested it, but we haven't really fully used it. So being able to jump in and get an idea and then see what other people are like, hey, does it do this? Let's find out. Like, that's what we're here for now, is to find out what it can do.
Absolutely.
I can't regular carve, so I'm just really curious how this power carving thing is going to work out.
And I think we touched on it in the beginning, but just to bring it up again, that's a great point. Piece of firewood, or if you have a burl kicking around, super easy way to learn how to use these tools and actually, make something out of it as well. A piece of firewood is just going to be a piece of firewood when you're done with it. If you don't like how you cut with the tools, or you may make a bowl or a spoon, or who knows. And a burl is just an easy way to just cut one side and just kind of learn how to scoop and get that general motion and make a nice little bowl out of it. Super great beginner projects. The first thing I ever did was make a burl bowl, and they're still one of my favorite things to do, just because of sort of the unknowns with a burl.
So make firewood or kindling. Either way, you're making something.
That's it.
If it's on sale, I guess I have to buy it, right? Well,
absolutely.
highly encourage it.
Yeah.
Because they are in stock. That's the other thing.
It's the general rule of thumb. Yeah.
Coleman says he loves it. No cutting on oak, however, in the building while filming.
Fair.
I say we make that oak scream.
Well, if that's the only requirement, we got you.
Take it outside.
Yep, we know exactly where we can go cut outdoors.
Just don't look over there with all those other chips that we had done.
Oh yeah, we forgot to clean that up, didn't we?
Forgot to. It's natural. It'll dissolve or disintegrate. Yeah, it's wood.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. You said that if I take firewood, because see, now I'm interested in taking some of the firewood outside and trying it. I am.
Yep.
What do you hold it with when you're carving? How is your way of going about holding the piece while power carving? I
like to use a jaw clamp, I guess would be a general term, or a jaw horse. There's a lot of different manufacturers out there, a lot of people making them. But basically the 3-legged stand that the jaws move this way, and there's a pedal that you can step on to tighten or loosen. Super powerful, really holds the piece. That's pretty much my go-to essentially every time I carve, unless it's something bigger or something I can't get into one of those. Or sometimes if it's, if you're doing a bowl out of pine, say, once you get down to the nitty gritty, the clamp stand will snap the bowl when you go to clamp it. So you then, I'll sometimes clamp the bowl to a board in the clamp stand then, or something like that to kind of get around it. But that's my go-to on the fly. I always have one in my truck. If you're in your shop, just a clamp or vise on your bench is fine if you're okay with the wood chips.
Okay. Roger asks, can I use mine? I'm guessing that's Porter cable grinder?
Quarter cable. As long as it's got a 5/8 11 arbor on it, which is your standard arbor here in the States, you should be good to go.
Okay.
Cool.
It's good to
Yeah,
know.
I see some kind of rig up with the micro jig system myself. Definitely the jaw horse type clamp for doing the initial rough end, but once you get little fine tuned and you're getting to your detail, I
Yep.
do a lot with micro jig stuff because it works so well and it's versatile. So I can just see me making some kind of jig or attachment that would be my go-to for that fine tune stuff.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother in terms of jigs. There's some videos out there, and there's a lot of options out there if you want to start getting into fashioning your own jig for doing different types of shaping and things.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Nice.
good. Cool. No, I was so with the dovetail jig on the dovetail clamp micro jig, you could run that groove on the piece, and then do you think that would hold? And that's for
Oh
a
yeah,
question for
I mean,
Chris.
you can make yourself just a basic platform to do some of that fine tune on, and using the larger clamps, I think it's got an 8-inch capacity to it. So as long as your part's not thicker than 8 inches, it would allow you to have some versatility there. And if you've got some sort of shoe or base or something that you've carved out onto there, you could actually use wedge clamps with their system to sort of wedge it in place while you're carving on the inside of it.
Or I've seen people even use glue and glue a block on the bottom of a piece and clamp that block and then finish their piece, and then you kind of knock that off and sand it when you're done. It's another option depending on the type of project you're doing.
Now, from what it looked like on your grinders, you're using a lot of plug-in. Do you see people switching over to cordless and the battery type?
Oh, sorry, I'm not. These are all cordless. I don't know if it wasn't showing well.
I couldn't see that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
It depends on where you're working, and so it's sort of a preference. I typically run cordless as much as I can, just because it's easy, and I'm a Makita guy, so I have Makita batteries. I got the grinders. I can just swap them in and out. I like that when I take the battery out, the tool's sitting there. It's not going to turn on, or nothing's going to happen. It's sort of idiot proof. I don't have to keep plugging and unplugging. I'm one of those people that if I don't like to leave a tool plugged in behind me. So that becomes a thing where you're tripping over cords and plugging and stuff. I will say that with some of the brushless grinders that are out there, that the models that the big power tool manufacturers push, great grinders, and great. The brushless motors are awesome. They sometimes feel a little underpowered with the bigger attachments. Still performs fine, but you'll find that if you really are like laying on the turbo plane or the industrial carver, for instance, the grinder may want to stall out, or it may flash its little warning light at you. It doesn't really create any issues. It's just a thing that if you're using a corded grinder, you don't really run into that at all. The power is always there, and it's always running. So there are certain applications where I would prefer a corded grinder, but typically I'm still running cordless.
Okay. That's good to know that they have that much power to be able to handle that too.
Sure. Yeah. We rate everything like the turbo plane, 10,000 RPMs is sort of the sweet spot. That's like the good range. And you'll find with some of the brushless model, or a lot of the brushless, especially the base model ones, they're around like 8,500 RPMs. And I believe there's more torque in there in the brushless motors, even at the lower RPMs, but it still does make that 1,500 RPMs can make a little bit of a difference with the bigger attachments. Again, nothing to be alarmed about, or nothing that affects your work. It's really just, the tool didn't have as much power as I wanted it to right there, but you just go back over the spot again.
Yeah, I was going to say mentioning that the amperage of your angle grinder makes a world of difference too.
Sure. And that would be
lower amp, that could be problematic, but a 10 or 13 would probably be more ideal.
Yep. I don't know enough about electricity to be completely honest.
Well, the lower amps won't have enough enough of that torque to be able to keep up and properly operate that for longer periods of times.
So that would make
Whereas,
sense then.
yeah, that's why most of your commercial industrial people who are using a lot of those grinders for, grinding welds and cutting off metal components, you typically using the 10 or even the 13 amp grinders because they're going to hold up a whole lot better.
Yep. And then there's the switch question we get, which switch do you prefer, paddle switch or slide switch? That's a total preference point in my opinion. I actually kind of like paddle switches because, again, they're idiot proof. When I let go, it's off. If something happens with a lock on, it's never anything you're prepared for. But if something happens, you trip, you go down, you drop your tool or something, and it's locked on, there's a situation on your hands.
There's a situation. That's a good way to put it.
So it's it's just one of those things, preference. But if I was going to sway somebody one way or the other, I might try to push them towards the paddle switch, just because, again, idiot proof.
You heard it here first. He only recommends the paddle switch.
Oh, that's good. Well, we have a few, just two more videos, one from King Arthur and Manpa Tools, and then one from Kutzall. Do you want to hang around?
I can hang around. If you're cool with that, I'm cool with it. If I'm stepping on anybody's toes, I'll back out.
No, hey, we sell everybody. So if you're joining us and you want to stick around, then yeah, absolutely. We'll have you.
We'll just mute you if you get out of control.
That's it. Easiest thing to do.
Oh, let's see here. Which one's first on the board? I think this is going to be the Kutzall one. We'll do that one first. All right, here we go. And it's about, 3 to 6 minutes. It's not like the Arbortech one was like 20. It was full in-depth, almost full product line there.
It was, yeah.
All right, we'll just hang with us and check out this video.
I think one of the most important things in this day and age is to create a style that is unique, create a style that is individual to you. This allows us to not have to compete against CNC machines in China, and it's very important to have something that people spot and go, that is a Joy Brigham piece. Certain tools really allows me to do that. I'm always on the search for these tools, and when I find it, it's great to have in my back pocket for when I need it. I love the tools that do a job that no other tool can do. For me, I feel like a Kutzall is the opposite of a CNC or a huge machine. It really allows the user to put their own stamp on it, give each piece character and soul. With the dish and disc, it allows you to take off a lot of material quickly, yet you still have that control. Now the burrs, very much more of a detailed application. You're able to get in those specific areas with all the different grits, really allows you to focus on those hard to get areas. With the rasp, it really allows you to clean up those parts with ultimate control, with just your hands doing the shaping, which I always love, being able to be completely controlled when you need it the most. Kutzall allows me to be unconventional, and for me, that's everything in this industry. After putting so much time into a piece, it's real nice to have a tool that allows you to take out very minimal amounts of material. To me, the rasps are almost like using a finer sandpaper. A lot of times I have details that I just want to subtly soften, and the rasps are the perfect tool for that. I have complete control. I know I'm not going to take off more material than I want, and I can ease into it. And the end result's a cleaner finish because of its multi-directional capabilities. The rasps allow me to take any piece even that much closer to the finished product. I couldn't imagine my shop being without them. As a woodworker, having the burrs allows me to create more abstract designs and take a raw piece, refine it with the utmost control. And with the burrs, I can get into places that I couldn't get in with any other tool. I feel like the burrs really allows me to shape any project that I'm working on into a very unique shape, a very organic shape that has a real genuine flow to it. I feel like it allows you to come up with an overall finish that can't necessarily be replicated by any other machine. There's no other router bit, shaper, or machine that allows me to do what a Kutzall allows me to do.
Alrighty. Sorry, someone's calling me about my vehicle warranty. So let's take a look here. With Kutzall, they've been doing the carbide burr type applications for several years. I think it's still family owned and operated. You know, they've done it for a long time. We had them on last year, and they're a great group of guys, and definitely making some very innovative things.
The little file rasps are fantastic. I've used a couple of them, not in my own shop, but just sort of testing them around, and I really like the little rasp. I'm gonna add a couple of those soon to my own needs because I do some of the 3D stuff I do that got some benefits to them that traditional sandpaper may not be ideal for, and
Gotcha.
and allows you to get into sort of tight areas and just like a traditional file or rasp, the little burr is a little bit more designed for wood, and it's not just like your traditional metal file is.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see it very well in the video per se. Let me see if I can find this real quick. But with the burrs themselves, they have different types of carbide included in how it's formed. There it is. There we go. So a lot of time the Kutzall grit is what you'll find in those files that Chris was talking about. The Extreme is a much taller, much more aggressive type of carbide. And then the Kutzall Original is just a kind of more of a peak, if you will, and it's not as aggressive as the Extreme is. But the reason that it matters is because that carbide that they're using and how they form it is different for each application. So when you're looking at, should I get the grit versus the extreme as far as the burrs go, especially the grit's going to give you a finer cut, smoother cut. The extreme is going to get some serious stock removal done.
Right on.
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh yeah, we're still good on time. So next we'll check out Manpa Tools new sampling of their, trying to make sure I say it right, the belt cutter. So they've come up with, they've been around since 1988, and they've come up with some pretty interesting adapters for angle grinders and such. And King Arthur Tools is now the United States distributor for them that we carry. So therefore they've brought in, and if you've never met Arthur from King Arthur Tools, he's very passionate about power carving. And when he jumps into something, he jumps into it fully. So he's from the conversation Chris and I had with him before the extravaganza, it was very interesting to find out how much research he had done, hands-on usage he had done, and kind of like you, Troy, he's very much if he's not going to use it, he's not going to sell it, and he really took this one on full. So in the video, we have some of the items that are on woodworkingshop.com. You can just simply search up MANPA, and you'll find them. I'm just trying to think here. The kit is probably the best thing that I found overall when looking at the video. It's a full attachment that goes onto the angle grinder. It'll give you a huge reach, and this is what's different versus a lot of other power carving attachments, is that you can have 8, 10, and 14-inch reach, and you can do it from, straight out the angle grinder or 90 degrees down. So you'll see all that, but it comes with everything that you'll need in order to attach it to your angle grinder. There's only one angle grinder they found that was kind of an issue, and that was a fine type. And so if you do purchase it and you find that it comes with 3 rings, and if the rings don't fit up for the spacer on there, then they have other ones available. But for the most part, I think it was 99% of the angle grinders they tested, they all worked. And so you'll get extra belts, all kinds of fun stuff with that. So let's check that out real quick. And this one. Alrighty. So one thing that I found very interesting about that setup in general is the concave eye cutters. And there's 8 in the piece, so you got quite a few sizes there. And what I noticed is that the more you use it, the more the burn kind of came in, so you had that texture to it. And I kind of like the way that you can do textures as far as scaling and stuff like that. Let's see. I'm trying to think how to put that. Would you find yourself incorporating that into your carvings, Troy?
I think I could probably use. I don't do a lot of like faces and stuff like that. Currently, I've done a few, but so like the eye cutters, I might not use that much. But some of the other stuff I saw there, I hope my boss isn't watching this, because I would use a few of the things on there.
That little triangle cutter was pretty neat.
Yeah.
And gave sort of a unique looking texture to the piece. But I'm like you, I don't know that I'd use the eye cutter for actually cutting eyes, but
Right.
To create that sort of bubble look, we're using multiple of those eye cutters to create just the small circles that, whether they're spaced out or overlapping, that could create a very unique texture look, depending on how you're going to finish the piece.
And I like the scaling that they did when they tilted it to the side and then they started doing a bunch of them in a row. Like that would it would be more than just wood burning it. You'd have more texture to it as far as 3-dimensional goes.
And you'd have a little more control too, because you could create some of those at a variety of different depths to create that more 3D effect across the span of those bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do know that the Manpa does fit all of the existing King Arthur Merlin 2 attachments. So therefore, if you already have those, they incorporate very well between the two. I like the reach. On some of the videos there, you had that 8-inch reach off the angle grinder, which gets the tool further away from the work piece as far as the machine goes, the angle grinder. So you have more versatility to rotate it side to side. I did like that part of it for sure. So we'll have to do a bunch of testing, Chris. That's all there is to it. We'll just have to find out what each thing can do.
Yeah. Coleman, get your credit card ready. We're going to be getting some stuff off the shelf and doing some testing. We'll become your technical resident power carvers.
Yeah. Will it fit on this? Will it work on that? We'll find out.
You got to have a couple guys for that anyways.
Can you tear it up? Yes, we can.
How much abuse can the belt take before it starts smoking? We'll find out.
Yeah, that's actually, that'd be a good test right there.
Because I'm not like a belt expert, but I know that type of belt in particular, those cog belts, they last a long time and they will take a beating. That's better than doing a V belt for sure.
Sure.
So when I saw that, I thought, okay, they've thought about this. They've actually got a good belt on there. And I think, I know that those King Arthur tools are 10% off unless it comes with a cord. So that means that the Manpa 2-inch master set is on sale at 10% off. So that's also good news. Part of our extravaganza, which is going on now. You can also visit us at woodworkingextravaganza.com, woodworkingshop.com for ordering, or call us at 800-228-0000.
Wait, there's a woodworking show happening?
No.
Oh, are there any specials going on?
Well, now that you mention it, there's a few. We're doing 30% off books and DVDs. So if you're interested in trying to get into the craft of woodworking and you would like to have a book or a DVD on how to do a certain project, then this is the time to get them. 30% off books and DVDs, 10% off CA glues and finishing accessories as far as Mohawk finishes. All of that is 10% off. Abrasives, lots of them. We talked about 2-inch discs. Punch your own hole for the Arbortech. You can get 15% off the abrasive discs, sheets, wraps, rolls, belts, you name it. If it's abrasive and we carry it, it's on sale, 15% off. And don't forget, Arbortech's on sale, 10% off till the end of the month. So get that Select Precision carving system, 10% off.
And so you can read about power carving. You can buy power carving stuff. And if you make a mistake, you can buy CA glue to put your power carving stuff back together so you can power carve it again. Right?
All the options right there.
Yeah, I mean, it
And
just
10% off to finish it once you're
holy
done
moly.
fixing it.
Yeah, if you're not on woodworkingshop.com or calling that number right now, making your phone calls, you just need to get your cart loaded right now.
That's right. Don't wait.
Operators are standing by.
They are. They don't like it when we do that to them, but they are standing by. They're ready to take your phone call.
Well, if they give me enough grief, I'll just start naming names. When you call, ask for her, and she'll be happy to help.
Yes, they're all real live operators in North Carolina waiting to take your call.
Yep.
But if you have any questions, let us know. And
Yeah,
that's what I had for today for our power carving segment.
Good stuff.
You know,
all with
I've
that nice-
never been interested in really diving into that just because I know how my hand carving phase went, and it was a epic failure because I just can't get what's in here to translate out. Now, if you give me plans, I can build you anything you want, but the artistic side of me can't physically do it. But I feel like something with that power carving, maybe not for that super fine, detailed, artistic type stuff, but for the rough, sort of cool looking, artsy things, I think I could do pretty well with that. And I'm serious about trying this out. And if Coleman won't let us do some at work, then I guess I'll just buy some of these things for myself, and I'm never bringing them in. If he wants free demos, yeah, we're gonna have to do something else. Like get us some for our tech lab, and we'll technically test it out.
I'm sure we can work something out.
You heard it here first. We're going to hold Troy to that.
He's going to send us like his 10-year-old demo tool.
Yeah, I mean, I left it open.
The black paint's going to be completely off, and the cutters are all going to be like worn down to a nub.
We'll get you something.
Yeah, just as long as you sign the inside of it so we can say we have Troy's actual.
Absolutely.
Then, hey, you know what? There's a reason right there to get new tools that you had to send yours to us so we could test them. There you go. That's what we'll do. What was I going to? Oh, in Arbortech, I don't remember you describing the company, how it became about. I mean, because you mentioned that the CEO is from Australia, came over. So, yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we're based in Perth, Australia, and our CEO he started the company back in the 80s, still with it. He's still our inventor, comes up with all of our ideas. Everything's produced and manufactured right there in Perth. And then we just have a few people in the US and Canada to kind of cover this side of the operation. And Kevin, our CEO, he's an artist at his core, and he's a phenomenal carver, and he's got the right brain for it. So he started with the industrial wood carver, and then everything sort of progressed from there. The industrial wood carver cuts on the edge. What if we came out with one that cuts on the face? Turbo plane. Turbo plane cuts on the face. That's cool. What if we had one that was smaller, mini turbo? It just kind of all kept rolling onto itself, and it's really just become a really neat line that we've got some cool stuff we're working on, and we're going in all the right directions, I think.
Very good. So, Troy, send attention Coleman. You'll fix the guys up. Trust me.
I trust him. Absolutely.
Yeah. Send it attention, Chris or Mike, and we'll make sure Chris or Mike get it.
We'll actually get it. Yeah, that's funny right there. So, that's cool about Arbortech doing that. Australian based. Now, is he in any of the video that we saw today?
I think his hands are in a lot of it. I don't know. We saw him working on a Kev Shed sign at one point, I believe.
Yeah,
I think that was maybe in the Power Chisel video.
Mhm.
I thought he was in there somewhere because there was a gentleman who has a wicked head of hair, and I thought that would be him.
Oh man,
he's got his own.
He's got his own YouTube channel too. So he likes to get out there and do projects and show. I'm pretty sure he's got a video showing a jig on there with the turbo plane and stuff like that. Really a neat, really a creative guy that fun to watch, fun to listen to, and he keeps our company headed in the right direction. So
I think that matters whenever you're actually hands-on with the products that the
Sure.
company's not only creating but selling as well, that makes a
Yep.
difference.
Yep. And very open to suggestions and solutions. Not afraid to improve. I mean, we've improved on pretty much all of our attachments and tools just in the 5.5 years I've been here. So we intend to keep doing that.
I think that matters big time right there, because if you're not using it, you don't know if there's something that could be better.
Right.
But if you are using it and you're trying it out, then you find, oh, you know what, like you said, what happens if we did this and it didn't cut on the edge? Boom,
right.
New product. So I think that's all good stuff right there.
Sure.
And I think you've proven that you're willing to evolve once things get out of the testing phase and into real world situations. Because I mean, just your 2-inch PSA, which removing the PSA, just that little bit
Sure.
makes all the difference in the world. And that just proves that you guys aren't just standing still and saying, no, this is how it is. Suck it up and learn to use it this way. No, you're evolving that and making it, and you're listening to the comments, and you're actively trying to improve and make it better until you get it perfected the way you want it. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, we want to stay user friendly, and we want to stay safe, and we want to make sure it's a good product. If we can keep doing those three things, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, so far so good. You guys keep bringing it up every year, something new, and your new stuff's not just copies of the old. It's actually improving upon something, or making it where it's something that can work in conjunction with.
Sure.
So,
or just changing the game altogether. As Coleman says, the ball gouge was a game changer.
That was we were prototyping that, and I was kind of looking at it, going, I was still early on in my power carving career myself, and I'm just kind of not really sure. And then I got one in my hands, and I was like, okay, yeah, I see where this can really be a game changer, as Coleman says. And then as soon as we launched it, it took off, and it hasn't stopped. And that then led to the precision carving system. So truly a game changer, because it put us in a whole nother realm, kind of working a different plane, I guess, maybe different shapes. It really, Coleman's spot on. It was a game changer.
Yeah. So next year we can expect the micro carving chisel, and that will be even smaller.
I mean, I won't rule anything out. I don't know if that's the next thing in the lineup, but it could be.
It's just a cutter on the end of a stick. Be ready.
Next year is just going to be wood.
Yeah.
So visit us at woodworkingshop.com for all of these specials, as well as let's find out if we can get Arbortech and Coleman to get together and send all of your comments and requests of what you'd like us to do to the woodworkingshop.com. Contact us, leave a comment here in the video, and we'll go ahead and take care of that. Don't forget, the AK34057 Precision Carving System is on sale, 10% off. And of course, books, DVDs, 15% off Klingspor abrasives, safety gear. That's right. We have select safety gear that you saw some in the video there, and 10% off most everything else now through October 23rd, which is this Saturday, which is tomorrow. So make sure you get whatever you're planning on getting for the end of the year. Now's the time to get it, especially abrasive wise.
Yeah, and if you're going to power carve, you definitely want to be safe. So we've got plenty of great things, from gloves, respiratory products, and face gear. So
that's it.
Protect your beautiful face.
Yeah, I like to at least wear some sort of face, mouth, and nose cover if I'm really doing a lot of carving. And I'll go further and use a power cap, the full shield. Most of the time, I prefer that setup. It's worth the investment, and it definitely you notice a difference when you're sanding, and you can kind of get your face right in front of it, and you're not coughing after. It's a nice nice way to do things.
Yeah, in today's world, if you're walking around coughing, they're not going to think it's from sawdust.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely. Plus that I've did a lifetime of woodworking and tile work and stuff, and man, I'll tell you, just breathing in that stuff, because it was you sacrifice one or the other. It's either I can see or I can breathe. Which would I rather do? And I don't want to cut my hand, so I'm going to see and just hold my breath. Well, I've learned now that I'm older that you know what?
That wasn't the
Find a
wisest
way to
choice.
no. Well, and that's what I say. Now that I'm older, I've learned that, you know what? I've made a lot of mistakes. So protect whatever you can, because as you get older, you're going to need all those things. So
Yeah, especially eyes, ears, lungs. Those are you want to hang on to those.
Those are essential.
Fingers, you only have 10.
Yeah,
hang on to those.
Usually, whenever we have a woodworker on, we always ask the question of, do you have all 10 fingers? So, yep, you do.
I do. Knock on wood.
There you go.
It's all about safety, though, and just doing what's right for you. I don't push it. I'm sort of backwards. I'm not a woodworker. I'm a power carver now, and I've learned, to finish this project, I'm going to need to do some hand chiseling. So then I get some chisels and a mallet and mess that up and start learning how to hand chisel. And same thing, like chainsaw. I'm born and raised in Maine. I live in Maine. Never ran a chainsaw. Never wanted to touch one. Just not a tool I was interested in. Got into power carving. Started realizing I was going to need to chainsaw some pieces and things to get going, and sort of worked backwards. So I've sort of worked from power carving backwards to using other tools and learning a little bit more about woodworking, but just always trying to stay safe. I stayed away from the chainsaw because I just didn't trust myself. And I've since, learned and done the right things to try and run things properly.
Safety first. It really will make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Troy, for joining us. I really do appreciate you taking the time today to be here live and to answer any questions. And we did have a few. So we thank you, everyone, for commenting and asking. And of course, don't forget, send attention Chris and Mike. And we will make sure that we get fixed up.
Yeah.
And don't forget to throw a hat in there
I'm
too.
just gonna throw a dart. Maybe I'll send it to Ray.
We'll let Coleman. We'll let Coleman know that we got the product. We'll keep him in the loop, but we'll let him know we got it.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so join us back here 1 o'clock. We will be having Built by Stevie on. We're talking women in woodworking, as well as at 2 o'clock we'll have Ralph Bagnall in from Micro Jig, showing us how to make a picture frame using a lot of the Micro Jig things from the scrap pile. So therefore, you can kind of get an idea of what you can do with the scraps currently in your shop. Instead of just firewood, you can actually use them for something, or you can power carve. We'll make a picture frame, then we'll let Troy power carve it. Yeah,
there we go.
Coming up next year on Extravaganza 2022.
I like it.
Yeah, and don't just join us to see Stevie because women in woodworking. She actually makes very, very good stuff. She'll put a lot of the men that I've seen to shame.
Absolutely.
With some of the stuff she creates. So great lady. I can't wait to kind of hang out with her and hear more about what's going on with her stuff.
So thank you again, Troy. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining us at Klingspor's Woodworking Extravaganza Virtual Edition 21st Anniversary. I am Mike Z.
I'm Chris.
I'm Troy.
There you go. All right. Thank you again for joining us, and everyone have a good lunch hour.